In this video, we begin our exploration of HTML. We examine the structure of HTML documents and define the rules for elements and attributes. Then we examine the elements HTML, head, title, and an introduction to meta. HTML, Hypertext Markup Language, is an international standard for marking up text in order to tell a browser how to display the text. The process is you insert tags into the text. The browser uses the tags as instructions to display your text, but the tags themselves are not displayed to the user. HTML includes formatting, page layout, text display, image and media inclusions, and so on. Hypertext, support for links to other web resources, especially links among pages. And actions, specifying how to respond to user requests, mostly mouse clicks and key presses. The current version of HTML is 5. Version 5.2 is official, version 5.3 is in process, but these are minor variations. We're going to construct a simple web page, and then we'll go over the details. Start with a doc type statement. The appearance of this statement tells your browser that this document uses HTML version 5 features. If you omit a doc type statement, each browser will make its own determination of what version of HTML your document is using. Next, we add an HTML element, a starting and ending point to include the whole file. Notice the use of less than and greater than symbols, also called angle brackets. These are used to delimit tags. Notice the construction of the start tag, tag name in angle brackets, and the end tag, /tag name in angle brackets. Tags bound content. A start tag and its corresponding end tag and their content is called an element. An HTML document is composed entirely of elements. Often, instead of tag name, we say element name. There are two elements directly nested within an HTML element: the head element and the body element. The head element contains elements that describe the body, while the body contains elements that make up the actual content of the page. Save this as a file with an HTML extension. While we can actually open this file in a browser, there is no visible body, and the tab or browser header just has the name of the file. There are several possible elements to nest within the head. For now, we'll look at the title element, which provides the descriptive title for the browser header, or a tab if you're using tabbed browsing. Now, if we open this file in our browser, we see the title value. Next, we add some content in the body. For now, a simple paragraph element. And displaying this in the browser actually shows us the text. Finally, let's add a link element, which is an A tag for anchor. This is a hyperlink, a connection to a document outside the current document, and that is where the term hypertext originates, text that includes hyperlinks. And in the browser we see the title, the paragraph, and the hyperlink. Okay now, here we go, spelling out the actual definitions and rules. For elements, HTML documents are comprised of elements indicated by tags. An element usually contains a start tag with this syntax. Notice I snuck in the new attributes component. The notation using brackets means what's between the brackets is optional. Do not actually code the brackets. It's just that you might or might not have attributes. And an end tag with this syntax. Element names are case insensitive. We recommend you use all lowercase. Between the start tag and the end tag is the content of the element. The tags and content define an element. Here's an example of a paragraph or P element. Some elements may not require end tags. For example, the BR element is a line break, start a new line. It has no end tag and its content is empty. For some HTML elements, an end tag is optional or even forbidden. We'll always specify the rules when we introduce an element. Each start tag may contain a number of attributes. There is a set of global attributes that are available to every element, and then some elements have attributes that only apply to them. The syntax for attributes is attribute name equals value, and the allowed attribute names are predetermined. They're case insensitive, but we recommend always using lowercase. The equal sign may have spaces around it or not. The value of an attribute may be unquoted, in which case the value itself may not contain spaces, single quotes, double quotes, back quotes, less than, nor greater than symbols. Or the value could be single quoted, in which case it must not then include single quotes, or it could be double quoted, and the value itself must not then include double quotes. For some attributes, the possible values are predetermined. For others, the value must have a particular format, and for others, the value may be any string. Some attributes are Boolean. They are present or they are not. In this case, the presence of the attribute implies true. Its absence implies false. You may not code true or false as values. The attribute is there or not. Attributes are mostly omitted, taking a default. Often the default values are inherited from any containing element. Furthermore, there are default values. Attributes are coded in an element start tag. If an attribute is specified twice in a tag, it is considered an error, although how to handle this error is left up to the individual browser. Here's some examples of attributes. This paragraph will display with the style properties assigned to classes topic 2 and under. Here, the attribute value is unquoted, and here the image element does not take an end tag. Note we have unquoted, single quoted, and double quoted values. You may want to have comments in your HTML. Comments begin with less than, exclamation point, dash dash, and end with dash dash greater than. Comments may wrap around line boundaries, as in this example here. In this case, we have a paragraph commented out until we need it. Comments may not be nested nor contain 2 or more consecutive dashes. Blank lines are allowed anywhere in HTML. An HTML5 web page has this general format. Notice the indentation of the elements. It's allowed, but certainly not required. Elements may be nested, but they may not overlap. For example, this is not allowed. Notice how the head and title elements overlap each other. White space may appear before and after each element and each attribute and between elements. White space includes blanks, tabs, new line characters, carriage return, and so on. Most browsers reduce insignificant extra white space to a single space when rendering a page. There are a number of attributes available for all elements. Here we focus on just the most important attributes. Class is a space-separated list of user-chosen names, each name being assigned one or more style properties. For example, you might have a class named BlueIn2 that contains style properties like this: text indent 2 pixels, color blue. The actual properties for style classes are defined in an external style sheet or an internal style element, much more later. The hidden global attribute is a Boolean attribute. If present, the element with this attribute is not visible on the screen. ID is a user-specified string of characters that must be unique within all elements in an HTML file. If specified, it must contain at least one character and no spaces. The lang attribute specifies the primary language for the element's content and any attribute text value for this element. For example, lang equals DE means the language is German, Deutsch. The value must come from an official IANA list. IANA is the Internet Assigned Numbers Authority. Visit http://tinyurl.com/Q7Z62FQ. Here's some sample values for lang so you can see what we're talking about. Notice the EN-US, which has a language tag of English and a subtag as how it's spoken in the US. The style global attribute is a collection of display properties to be applied to the element, such as font family, color, text indent, and more, discussed later. And then title. It has advisory text for the element. Usually it's rendered as a tooltip when the user hovers the cursor over the element. Here's a summary of the attributes we've discussed. We'll introduce additional attributes as we encounter the need. Now we begin formally introducing elements. First, the HTML element. Its purpose is to define the whole document, a web page. The syntax is a start tag with HTML, possibly some attributes, then the entire document, and the end tag. The start tag and the end tag are both optional, but we recommend you code them both. The most likely attribute you would code is lang to specify the language of the document. This can be helpful in these ways: assist search engines, assist speech synthesizers, and help with browser decisions regarding hyphenation, quote characters, spacing, spell checkers, grammar checkers, and the like. In this example, we say the language of the document is English. Still, most people don't code the lang attribute, so each browser will use the language the viewer has specified in their browser settings. Next is the head element. Its purpose is to be a place to gather elements descriptive of and/or used in the body, such as the browser title, the character encoding used, the author, and so on. The syntax is a head start tag, the document heading content, and the end tag. The start and end tags are required if there are any sub-elements present. Although the global attributes are technically allowed, they're not useful here. The document heading content is comprised of one or more of these elements: title, meta, base, link, style, script, no script. We discussed the first two in this session and the others in later sessions. In this example, we see a title element discussed next. Notice that title must be nested in a head element. Here we see a sample meta element telling the browser that the character set for this web page is Unicode. More on this in the optional session for this lesson. And in example 3, we show a title element and a meta element. See how the head element content is a set of sub-elements. Again, more details are in the supplemental session for this lesson. Next, the title element. Its purpose is to provide a title in the browser title bar or tab. Its syntax is title, and then the document title text, and the end title. Both the start tag and the end tag are required. The document title displays in the border of the browser or in the tab if you're using tabbed browsing. You don't normally use any attributes, but it is possible. Here's an example. One common source of confusion is keeping straight the title element, which is in the head of a document, and the title attribute, which is used as a tooltip information in elements in the body of a document. Finally, we come to the meta element. Its purpose is to describe many attributes of a document. The syntax is meta and one or two attributes. A start tag is required, an end tag is forbidden, so there is no content. no global attributes are of interest here, but at least one of an allowed set of non-global attributes must be coded. At this point, there's only one attribute of interest here, charset. Other attributes are discussed in the supplemental video. Charset specifies an identifier of the character encoding used in this document. For example, if I'm doing any international work, I have a fair number of Japanese connections, I specify Unicode this way: meta charset equals UTF-8. This allows me to mix character sets from all human languages. UTF-8 is the standard encoding for HTML5 documents. Well, this has been a rich and long session. You may need some time to digest it all. Next is an optional video that discusses the meta element in more detail. Following that is our next lesson, where we begin coding the body of an HTML page. See you there.